Merry Christmas!
Welcome back, everybody. Just before we get into the video, I'd like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Cheers. I've just been having a quick look to see what's what with this Ammonite. Where the matrix was very low here, where the rock had actually parted, there's a little bit of damage here. Well, that's all I can see on the up to now. It's quite a nice calcite shell. There's various colours in it. Most of this shell here was actually covered on top with oolite matrix, so I can only presume this damage has happened pre-fossilisation. I'm going to start by working this down a bit, and then we'll come back to this side and have a look at what will be the mouth of the Ammonite. There's a little bit of damage there, probably need a repair. The centre, the very tip of the centre isn't quite there, so we'll have to do something with that. But first I need to expose the Ammonite. The calcite over the top of these short spines I have got on the cap. There's a bit of calcite here, this belongs here, and the little caps off the spines are in there. What we'll do, or what I will do, is I'm going to expose all the Ammonite first, so we know where we are, and then I'm going to glue this back on here, but I'll only glue it where I need to at the calcitic points. So I am not re-gluing any of this back onto the Ammonite itself, because that'll just make a mess when I come to remove it. So I think we'll work this surface back a bit and have a bit of a better look at this outer keel, probably down to this damaged area here. As you can see, the outer shell coming round here, there's a spine. It would have been quite large, this, I think, actually. You've also got another bit of shell here. So that is the wall of one of the inner chambers. The way the Ammonite grows is to secrete the shell, and as it gets bigger and bigger, it creates more of these chambers. What they do is, for the buoyancy, the Ammonite has a little tube that runs all the way round through all of these chambers, which is called a siphuncle, I believe, if I remember correctly. And the Ammonite itself can alter and vary the pressure in each of these individual chambers, and that actually gives it the buoyancy in the water. It can go up or it can go down by altering the pressure in these chambers. Well, that's what that is. That's the wall of an inner chamber. Right, a couple of hours in and we've already hit problems. The ribs aren't cleaning too bad. I'm having to skim down to the rib, then clean with the air abrasive in between the ribs and the rib tops. The problem I've got is I came across this bit of calcite plate here. Oh, I thought, I wonder what that is. Well, it didn't take me long to find out. That is probably the inside of the chamber of this section of the Ammonite here. This bit here is missing, and I think that's just been ripped off before it was actually buried You just see the inside the grey chamber there. So I'm hoping that that doesn't extend beyond about here. If the rest of the whale is alright all the way around, then we'll repair that and repair the calcite hole, or the hole in the calcite. It was going quite well until we hit this point. So tomorrow or the next day I'm going to remove all this area here and we'll have a look how much damage there actually is. I have managed to find the other side of this missing section we have here, which is here. It looks like it does go behind the hole in the ammonite and continue on. So what I'll do next is I will remove this down and completely expose what there is of these ribs here round to about here, and then we'll move on from there. I think the rest of the outer whale will be intact, but you just don't know till you remove the matrix. The easiest way of actually exposing these ribs is to use the point of the tip to remove the overlying matrix till you get quite close. Then if you tilt the pen so the flat side of the point is just resting on the calcite, and then just slowly work your way down. The flat side, basically what that does, it acts like an abrasive, and it just removes the thin layer of oolite, the matrix that's sat on and in between the ribbing. This is a shell which we'll be removing. This part of the outer whale, which is broken, extends to about here. I'm going to have a word with Matt and see if he wants me to leave this on the ammonite or to cut round at this chamber section here and remove this broken whale. It is difficult to do, especially if you've cleaned one side, but how I will do that is I will cut round it with a dental drill, then remove the rock the other side of the cut. There is a good chance you will lose parts of it because it is quite fragile, but you could probably get most of this to remain if you're careful. ribs are coming out, so it's not looking too bad. We've just got this area between here and here. I think this may possibly go this way a little bit. We'll have to see. I shall complete removing this matrix now and exposing the ribs down to here. Well, I hope you could see how I was doing that with the angle of the pen and the little circular motions to skim up the ribs. It's quite delicate round here. We lost a little bit there, but it's gone back. We appear to have found some more of the outer chamber here, outer chamber wall, but it's distorted and crushed. So we'll probably only leave it up to here for now. This calcite vein here is another internal chamber, so I'm going to cut through that and take the ribs right round and down. I'll finish doing that probably in the morning, then I'll air-braid the sections that I've exposed last so we can have a look at them properly. So what I'll do is I will bring you back when I've removed all this and we're about to air-braid so we can have a look at this calcite and what's happening. Things have altered a little bit since I last switched the camera on. I have actually air-braided some of this shell. It's not too bad. And then I've, rather than film it all because it's hours of work, I've penned off a lot of the surrounding matrix. Yeah, I'm quite sure everybody doesn't want to see hours of me just sat there doing that with a pen. I've had a quick look at the front of the Ammonite and it's not too bad. It's not the best, but it's not far from the worst. You can just see here, that point there and this point here, where it's going into the spines. I've had a lot of problems when I was actually penning the matrix down. There was actually a fracture running through this that you couldn't see. When I was working around here, this all fractured away. Not unusual for it to happen when you're preparing fossils. Another problem is this calcite. It is so thin. Any vibration and it just basically falls to pieces. I've glued most of these up to try and stop it, but the calcite, I would say this side isn't going to be totally complete. I've got the piece to put back here, but and some of the cap tops, but we'll just have to see what we can do with it. But it's on the whole, it's not looking bad at all. You can see where now I've air-braided this a bit, it's a bit clearer where the missing part is. There's bits of rib in there, but it could have been crushed in, I'm not sure yet. We'll take this down in a bit and have a look. slowly working round, starting a little bit more on this back edge now here. Once we've got the bulk of this removed, I'll cut this top edge with a dental grinder and we'll start removing this thin layer that I'm leaving. This is very, very hard. There seems to be sort of three different types of hardness with the rock on here. You've got like very soft, some parts it's almost powdery, a sort of medium, and then this really hard, prehistoric hardened concrete that seems to adhere to the shell like super glue. So hopefully within the next couple of hours I shall have this off, then we'll probably start to make some progress. Well, what a mess. Looks like I've got a bit of clearing up to do, but it's taken me quite a few hours, but we've got most of the matrix off. The next job will be to remove this from the outer part of the shell so I can see where the edge of the shell is, so I can then go in towards the centre of the ammonite. I'm going to leave, I think it would probably be better to leave a bit of support on the top here for now and remove that later. She's coming on. To have found most of the spines down this side. That one looks like it's actually had a shell crushed into the end of it, and there's a small one at the base here. We'll expose that a bit more later, but what I think I will do now is bring this top edge down here. There's a spine there, I think there might be partially one there. We're going to grind this right down almost to the shell so I can finish it with the air abrasive. To get the main aim of the day done, which is to expose more or less most of this keel here and the spines. And we've also had a look round here. It's a bit rough up here, but it probably clean up okay. I might leave this on. I think the next job is to cut in around the bottom here and remove all this, so we can actually prepare the centre. But the spines are okay, they're not bad. And it's coming on. Managed to more or less expose all the spines this side. There's one left possibly under here. The large ones are pretty much intact, but as we come down they seem to have broken before the Ammonite was buried, as you can see there, and that last one's just on the edge there is also broken. But they're not too bad. They look okay, I think. Next job over the next day or so, whenever I get back in the workshop, remove this and expose the last spine. Tidy up around the Ammonite. May have to drop this matrix a little bit more around here. And then after that it'll be removing the matrix from the centre. Well, I've made some progress, as you can see. I haven't been doing much for the last few days as my shoulder's been playing up yet again. But what is noticeable is this wall, part of the chamber wall here, I thought came round and was connected to this, but it isn't. This piece seems to have broken away from this piece and twisted slightly. I'm hoping to be able to leave that in place, but we'll have to see what happens. I'm going to start going down now, taking this matrix here all down and wandering around looking for the little tips of the spines from the next whale, and then we'll slowly work our way down to the middle. Well, I appear to have found the tops of some of the inner spines. You can see them here. I've got a problem with this calcite towards the edges, though. It's very thin. I've been working my way around here, just uncovering these spines on the edge here. I've had a look at this section here that had broken away from the main chamber, but it's very, very fragile, and it's also in pieces, so I'm going to remove this. Hopefully there'll be some spines underneath it. There's not much more I can do. It's just falling apart. There's no way you're going to be able to keep this. Even using an air abrasive, you wouldn't be able to keep this. It's just too thin in places. It's thinner than a fag paper. So I'm going to remove this and then continue around and see. Hopefully we can follow these spines round and down into the centre. Right, I've removed that piece of shell from here. The spines aren't complete under it. I was hoping there would be. And as we've moved round here, this is all pretty unstable. The shell's missing under here. So the only option really is I'm going to cut it back to here. This is the first bit of sound shell. So we'll bring this round to here. Don't like doing that, but there's not a lot of option. Probably look better for it, but I still would have liked to have left the shell fragments. Been slowly working down, finding all these spines. Up to now, there's a little small one there. they're there, but after this one, and they're starting to get really thin, I'm not sure whether they'll be intact. We will have to see, but I've had enough for the day, so we'll continue with that in the morning. Right, it's come on a little bit, as you can see. I've removed that centre matrix down to this point. Most of the spines seem to be there. There's one or two possibly in there. The very small ones that won't be complete. We'll have to wait and see. I've trimmed down this bottom edge a bit, just tidied up the penwork a bit. This will all have to be ground even further down. I want to get a little bit more of this bottom of the Ammonite showing yet. I've trimmed the mouth border up to approximately where it's going to be. So we are cracking on a bit. We still have the 2 repairs to do and the cap to glue back to replace this piece of calcite here and 1 or 2 of these, although I don't really think it's going to make a lot of difference, and I don't think these caps will go back perfectly. The problem with that is when you knock the caps off and they come away, you get a little bits of calcite from the edges here all crumbling, so you can never get them back perfect. But we will see again. But that's the stage we're at the moment. I think the next job now will be to finish removing this and have a look at that centre. Once we've done that and cleaned it, I've given this a little bit of a clean with the air abrasive just to tidy it up a bit better so you can see what's happening. Once we've done this, then we'll probably glue the cap back on here and see what bits of calcite off the shell we can reclaim. But not looking too bad. It's nowhere near as good as what I thought it would be, but there's nothing, you know, massively wrong with it other than a couple of repairs. There's a little hole in here, a bit of damage, but that's nothing. Those repairs I can do. There will be some calcite missing possibly from the tops of these spines this side on the back top side. We really don't know at this stage till we glue the cap back. this is cleaning quite easily. Even these very fine ribs here, the dental grinder will clean if you just very, very gently bring the edge of the ball up and just touch like this, and the matrix is coming away lovely. I will have to go on to air abrasive shortly when we get even finer, but that's what I mainly clean spines with, the dental grinder. Right, that's as far as I'm going with the dental grinder. I'll air abrade that. The centre, like the other side, just isn't there. It starts to deteriorate about here as it comes down. There's little calcite fragments left, but not a lot, unfortunately. I've just been cleaning up one or two of the ribs, getting some more of the matrix out between them. It's not too bad, the shell. It's not the best, but it's not too bad. The problems we have is this area here, where you can see it's quite bad in places where it's missing. And I think the next step will be to glue that cap back, see if we can save any of these spines. Quite deep centres on these. I'm not sure if you remember earlier on, I was on about when these caps come away from the Ammonite, they quite often lose a lot of this fine calcite. Well, I've checked this against the actual Ammonite itself, and it has lost quite a lot of this. Because of that, I'm not going to glue the old cap back. This area here and the first spine behind that, indeed this spine in particular has lost probably this much calcite off it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this with the saw, trim it down. I'm going to try and reattach this. I will try that a little bit as well, but that has lost quite a lot. I'm not sure about this. It's a bit hit and miss. But so what we're going to do is I'm going to cut this area off here, and we'll see if we can reattach this. You can see where the loss is, where the rock's broken, where you've lost it. We might, this large bit, we might be able to get most of it back. I can tell just by placing that on there that there is quite a bit of calcite missing from the edges, but we'll see how it goes. We'll let that set, harden, and then I'll remove the excess matrix, see what we've got. Just putting a hole filler in here. Okay. you can probably see what I mean now about the calcite fracturing. When the core comes away, this is what happens around the spines. The calcite just crumbles like this and you lose it. This is what's left of the bottom spine of the three I glued back. As you can see, the loss here, part of the spine itself, the outer calcite's been lost. I'll have to reinforce that with some glue, but this is what happens when it comes away. All this calcite in here just crumbles and goes. In a bit of a bad way. So what's left of these three spines is actually back. There's still a lot of repair around them. You can see where the calcite's just disintegrating around here. It shouldn't go any further. I've glued that all up, but we're going to need some repair around here. Next job is I'm just going to slightly lower this missing area here to give the putty a little bit more thickness, particularly as I'm putting ribs in it. If there is any eye spots that are coming near the ribs, it could put me out a little bit. So we'll just take this down with the dental just a little bit. This looks fine, and then I'm going to start putting a base coat of the resin putty in here to form the ribs. Just using a standard 2-part epoxy putty. It's a 1:1 ratio, equal parts. If this had been a solid calcite shell, which unfortunately it isn't, then I would have used a resin mix. But this beautiful brown calcite on here is probably only about 3 thou thickness, so it's a bit pointless. There's grey mixed in with it as well. As you can see, it's very patchy. You get the brown and the grey, so we'll repair with the grey putty. I think that's the best option. I'll cut 2 equal parts and mix them enough to fill this area here. We've got the water, which helps keep it soft, more malleable. Various little tools. I'll be putting the ribs in with a 1.5mm diameter metal wire, I suppose you'd call it, although I think it's a form of tool steel. Right, I think that's mixed, so I'm just going to flatten it out a bit. We'll wet the surface because it's tend to be very powdery rock, this that soaks straight up. And in we go. Just adding small amounts, very small amounts, to build it up a little bit. We're a little bit low. Right, I'm going to leave it at that for now, let that set, and then we'll put the final shape in with the needle files. I've also put a little bit round here. I'm not going to do this section yet. That's enough for now. Once I get that into shape and finished, then we'll touch up these spines here, but there's a little bit of loss around them. I've trimmed the base up a little bit, it was just basically too big. So the next job really is to pen this matrix on the base lower, but I need to keep a fairly level line around the base to pen to, and an easy way of marking that is pick the lowest point you want to go to, which is here, find something about that height, get your pen, hold that like that, and then just bring your fossil up carefully. Just a minute. Bring your fossil up carefully and just draw around it like that. And that should have given me a fairly straight line, so I'll work to that, and then if I need to take it a little bit lower, I'll get a thinner bit of material to use as a guide. Right, that's levelled the base out pretty much. What I'm going to do next is I'll just give that a quick grind and tidy the base up, flatten it a little bit more. We'll more than likely be texturing it, but that will be a bit later on. Once I've ground that up, we're going to finish the mouth border. Right, that should be good enough for texturing. It's a pretty even, fairly even. There'll still be the odd pen mark in it, but that'll come out when I texture it. I think next we need to finish this mouth border. Gonna call it a day at that. Tomorrow we'll texture this base, then we've basically just got the Ammonite left. We've got these repairs to finish and air-braid the Ammonite, and it's nearly there now. I quite like the effect earlier on when I penned this, so I've decided that I will texture it with a fine pen. Don't do it very often, so, but I think it'll look quite nice done like that. We'll have to see how it turns out. Just had a parcel arrive. Right, that's a new collector hood for the extraction system. We'll have a bit more about that in an up and coming video. It might possibly be after this one. I'm not sure how Matt will put them out, but yeah, I think that will be fine for my needs anyway. Just need to adapt the back to take a smaller pipe, and all systems go. Right, on with the job in hand. Matt's Teloceras. Right, that's the base colours on. I'm going to work from there. As you can see, that there is quite a lot of different shades in the calcite top. So I'm going to work some of the shades down and into here. It gets deeper in colour as it goes further round. When you get to the mouth border, it's a fair bit darker than what it is here. So as we come round, we're going to darken it slightly. That'll do for today, I think. Let that soak in, dry, and we'll have a look tomorrow. Right, I think we will call that done. Hole's gone, the section in the back's been repaired, so that to me is finished.